Welcome back to Blurred Summits, episode 31. Today we are going to be talking about negotiation. What is a negotiation and factors to help you better your negotiation skills, such as saying no, getting them to say that's right, and practicing tactical empathy. So Hudson, what is a negotiation?
So a negotiation is working to reach an agreement with another individual or a group of people. So this ranges from things like buying a car, because you're talking to a car salesman, being like, okay, working down the price, kind of find the middle, right? To even asking your teacher to boost your mark is a negotiation, right?
Yeah.
Like, hey, I wanted to, this stuff happened, so just raise my mark a bit. I'm this close to this mark. Negotiating with them to work with you for that. Even walking through the hallway is a negotiation, trying to decide, am I going to go to the left of this person, right of this person? You're both talking with each other, nonverbal, trying to decide where it's to go. And even, this is kind of one that's on the edge of it even, is a tip at a restaurant. This one that I think it is a negotiation because they're basically, their service is basically them negotiating to give you more money.
Right.
Because it's on top of the thing. I guess even ordering your food at a restaurant is a negotiation, but they set the price and you're like, yeah, that's fair. So then you take it.
Yeah. So it's pretty much everything.
Everything is a negotiation. Anything with like money, decision making, all these things are negotiations.
And we're always deciding. We're always interacting, right?
Yeah.
So it's like, I guess even outside of business, which is traditional negotiation, these skills sort of apply.
Well, yeah, like that said, right? It's an agreement with another individual trying to reach an agreement.
Yeah.
All these things, right?
Absolutely.
You're saying, hey, I agree with you to do this. That is a negotiation in some form.
Mm-hmm. Awesome. So what, like, okay, say during normal negotiations, before you watched this episode, or planned it, how did you act? What did you used to do?
Well, I guess I'm sort of the type of guy to be on my front foot, right? Try to be the one.
What does that mean?
Drive the hard bargain.
The hard bargain. The worst person to play Monopoly.
Yeah, that's what I was about to go into Monopoly.
Literally so terrible.
I do the American thing of going super, super, super aggressive with my thing.
Yeah.
That's so outlandish, and then force them to kind of come up and meet me somewhere.
Even if they're
that's
giving
on my side.
Even if they're giving you a good deal.
Yeah.
Which is annoying.
And then eventually, the funny thing, they bite to it, and you win the negotiation and get way more than you really should for it.
Yeah, but this is the real question. In the pursuit of getting a good deal, you have now destroyed your relationship with this person. So was it even worth it?
I like how you're talking about this in the third person here. I think it's going pretty good. We're doing all this stuff, so it's fine. And
you're like, they stick around.
And if I recall, I think I did win that game of Monopoly too.
That's so
funny. How about you?
Years ago, I don't know what you're talking about.
Like during normal negotiations, how do you usually act with that type of stuff?
The way that I usually do it is like, I give them a fair deal, and I always hit them with this. Okay, this is for Monopoly specifically. Now that we're on the topic of Monopoly.
Well, that's like, a good way to talk about. Like that shows how people negotiate in like real things.
I tell them like, here's a deal, and they're like, oh no, that's such a terrible deal. So then I'll tell them, okay, I'll do the opposite. Like if you're saying that's such a terrible deal, I'll give you the other side of that deal. Then that's perfectly fair. I'll take either of the sides. That means I'm perfectly fair, right? That's what I do. That's like a low-key good strategy, bro. I'm not going to lie.
It's not bad. You just try to guilt trip them into giving you something.
Well, I tell them, I'm like, okay, if it's such a bad deal, then we'll flip it. Then it's a good deal for you, right?
Yeah.
We flip it.
So are you one to like concede when it comes to negotiations? Like, are you one to give them more, or are you the type of guy to kind of drive the hard bargain and force your stance down their throat?
I don't know. I don't think I'm too much of a hard bargain kind of guy. Maybe I used to be, but now it's more just like I debate them until, they
so
they agree.
You stick your stance. You're like, whatever I say is it what I say goes.
Yeah, or kind of like telling them, like what's the problem, and then debating them, like proving to them that it's a good deal. Eventually, they like agree with me that it's a good deal. It's a pretty bad strategy. I'm thinking about it now.
It's a lot of work.
It's terribly toxic.
It takes a lot of energy for you to do that stuff. So let's get right on into some of these factors for good negotiation.
Yeah.
This was from, I'm blanking on what book it was from.
This is on Never Split the Difference.
Yeah. So some of these, I've had this book for probably 7-8 months now. Still haven't read it. Abdul's read it, but
yeah, it's by Chris Voss, I believe his name is.
So yeah, we'll get into some of these things in there, and hopefully they'll be able to find some value for you guys here. So the very first one is you get them to say no, or get to know. Mm-hmm. So ask no-oriented questions, that make people feel safe. No-oriented questions make them feel safe, as yes-oriented questions unsettle them and make them feel like you're trying to get something from them, right?
Okay, so what does that actually mean?
So you ask questions like, is now a bad time to talk? Right? So these are ones where you don't want them to say, you obviously want them to say, no, this is not a bad time to talk. I want to talk.
Oh, okay.
Sort
So
of things
instead of saying, can you talk right now?
Yeah.
You say, is now a bad time?
Yeah. Because when you're saying like asking for yes-oriented questions, like it said, they get unsettled. They're like, they're trying to get something from me.
Yeah.
They're trying to play me for something. But if you ask the opposite, kind of ones that lead them down the no, or if they say yes, it's
Interesting.
the busy one, right?
Yeah.
It makes it seem like you're not trying to get something from them.
Yeah. That is weird.
So
why is no better? Do you know why no is better?
I don't know the exact reason why no, but I feel like when you're trying to hunt down the yes, I think it's more so going the other way, where it's when you're trying to hunt down a yes,
Yeah.
it makes the brain think that they're trying to get something for you. And basically all these tips in here are trying to make the other person more comfortable.
Yeah.
And more settled down and not scared that you're trying to get something from them, right? Or take advantage of them.
Yeah, because there is like a defensive element to yes. Now that I think about it, when you say yes, you're kind of, I don't know, there is a weird thing with the word yes. Yes is an unsettling word almost, eh?
Yeah, I think we get into that. We do get into that a bit more down the line as well with this.
Yeah.
That's kind of a running thing with him, is avoid people saying one word yes. Because yes always makes them be like, what's next to come? Are you free to talk now? Oh, sorry, that is actually, is now a good time to talk? Yes. I wonder what he's trying to get from you.
Yeah, yeah.
Right? Like that's all in the back of your mind, right?
I think that leads into number 2, hey?
Yeah, right into number 2 here is you go for it. That's right. So once you convince someone you understand their dreams and feelings, a real breakthrough can be made in communication, right? So by stating something to them and be like, that's right, it makes them realize that you have an understanding of their problems, what they're going through, or something more personal about them, right? Because you're trying to personalize this argument, whatever it is, with them. So then they let down their guard.
Yeah.
That's what all that is, right? Is you're trying to get them to let down their guard. So then you can kind of wiggle your way through and get them to give up on some of it.
Most of the time, we spoke about this in earlier podcasts, is that people's, one of their root desires is desire to be understood.
Yep.
And so the interesting thing about wanting to be understood is that sometimes you, like in a negotiation, you're more open to suggestion if you feel like that person's on your team. Yeah, and who's on your team more than yourself?
No one. You're
on your team more than yourself. So if the person in front of you is describing your situation, they're telling you that they understand your feelings, and not only are they just saying it, but they can actually explain exactly how your thought process is.
If you even say what they want, I'm like, I know you want to do this. I know you probably feel anxious because of all this stuff going on. They're like, oh, damn, they really understand me. You want to personalize yourself to that person. Yeah,
and the second they feel that, then they're like, okay, we're on the same team now.
And look, know who's really good at doing things like that?
Who?
Car salesmen.
Really?
Yeah.
How so?
Because they're trying to sucker you into this car. It's like, I know it's kind of expensive, all this, all that. I'll throw in this package for you.
Yeah.
I'll do this for you.
Yeah.
Even the best one. I know it's kind of expensive, so I'll drop it down $500. They're still way above where they're willing to price it at.
Exactly.
So you're falling into their
trap.
They're
going into they're making it seem like they're on your team.
Yeah, no, that's what it is. It's like, I'll go talk to my manager. Yeah. See if I can wiggle them down on the price a bit for you.
So you flip it on them. Instead of them being on your team, you be on their team. Be like, I know you need a commission. Yeah. That's so funny.
I know you're struggling. I know this is kind of hard working job. I see how it is, man. But
yeah, it honestly does work.
Because it's like, hey, if they're nice to me, I'll be nice to them, sort of thing, right?
Exactly.
It makes it not this battle between the two of them. So then the next one here is to practice tactical empathy. So this is show people that you see the nuances in their emotion.
Yeah.
Acknowledge their fears and emotions. A lot of these are all about emotion, their barriers and things like that, right?
Yeah.
So this does also tie into that other one. So it's kind of like saying things like, it sounds like you're afraid of this. You're afraid of losing the sale. You're afraid of breaking a friendship, whatever.
Yeah.
Then they're like, okay, they actually understand my struggles. Another one is, it looks like you're concerned about this thing, right? They're like, I understand what you're scared of. I understand what's going on with you in your life. Again, then they let down their guard. So it's like, this is all about disarming them and making them feel like they actually aren't in a negotiation. and then to go along with this even more, list the worst things they could say about you and tell it to them. Right?
Huh.
That's under this tactical empathy. I know all these bad things could happen.
Yeah.
But here they are. I'm showing you my hand.
Yeah. This is every terrible thing about me.
This is all the things that you could say to use against me in this argument. I understand how these things should come back on you.
Yeah.
And they're like, okay, they truly understand me. Then they let down their guns, right? They drop their guns. They're like, okay.
Yeah.
They know what's up.
Yeah, with this one too, it's like I heard a really good example is if your boss or someone like that is getting very mad at you, to ask them what kind of pressure they're under. Because likely if somebody is like threatening you, doing all these things, like telling you, I'm going to do this and this, like if you better get this done by this time.
Yeah.
To be like, man, it must really seem like this person is going under a lot of pressure for them to start acting this way, right?
Yeah.
For them to start being so mean. They must have things going on in their own personal lives that are leading them to this.
Yeah, so you just have to acknowledge it to them, right?
Yeah.
Like, oh, they actually understand what's going on.
Yeah, and like shift the conversation away from this particular negotiation.
Yeah.
Switch it away from the actual object and just look at that person as a human, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, just make
sure.
it's all about personalizing the other person, right? Or the other individual.
Humanizing them.
Yeah.
There you
Like
go.
you don't want it to be you versus them for this thing.
Yeah.
You want it to be you and him together.
Collaboration.
Yeah.
There we go.
People love collaboration, right? It's like, hey, we
Absolutely.
can work together. We can
Yeah.
do these things.
And
then
this is another good, like, amazing thing I heard from Chris Voss. He was like, if somebody is telling you a very unrealistic expectation, ask for their help.
Yeah.
So, for example, let's say you're playing a game of Monopoly and somebody's saying, I want $5,000 for this piece of property. Ask the person, how do you expect me to do that? How do you expect me to do that, right? Or somebody's saying like, oh, I need this project done by midnight or else I'm going to, go to the teacher, say like, how do you think I should approach this? How should I do it? Yeah. Get them to solve the problem for you because the person is likely going to quickly realize, okay, wait, it's probably unrealistic of me to say something like that.
Yeah.
I can't even figure out how the person's going to do it. How can I get them to do it?
So either you'll either get the deadline extended or they'll help you out with it. That's like
right.
There's no
and they'll solve your problem. Like you don't got to do the problem solving anymore. Now it's like you said, it's a collaboration and instead of against each other.
Even if they tell you how to do it, it's like, okay, now I know how to do it.
Yeah.
Worst comes to worst, you figure out what you have to do.
Exactly. So, that was like a really amazing tip I heard.
Yeah. So this next one, we actually kind of talked about this or in our communication one. I guess now it'll be 2 weeks ago from when this goes out.
Yeah.
Is mirror words selectively, right? So it's like we talked about in communication. You repeat words back to the other person, and by doing so, it de-escalates things and make them feel closer to you, right? It's kind of like in that argument thing where you said you kind of repeat back what they're saying, and then they can hear it in and acknowledge what's going on. So it kind of makes them understand what they're saying more, right?
Yeah.
Say it back to them. All they're hearing is their words reverberated back to them. Yeah,
and I think an important thing with this is that you're not just repeating words without meaning those words.
Yeah.
It's like in The Office, Andy?
Yeah.
Remember when he first came to the Scranton branch in The Office? He was saying, like, the way that I'm going to be likable in The Office is I'm going to mirror everyone's words, repeat it back to them, right?
Yeah.
And, like, that's a really bad way to do it because he's, like, sure, he's mirroring words, but there's no value behind them. It doesn't show that he understands what's being said.
Yeah.
So when you mirror the words back and when you tell people words that they say back to them, like, say it as if you're that person.
Yeah.
Say it as with that
you don't want to
meaning.
always say everything back. Like, you just pick and choose the things, right?
Just a parrot.
And then along with this, like, while you're doing it, you also want to work to kind of slow down the speed of the conversation, the pacing of the talking, the conversation, change the tone, soften your tone, things like that, just to kind of bring down the volume of the debate, whatever you're doing with this person, right? Because then again, it's letting their guard down, right?
Yeah.
Okay, I'm not in this high stakes, high energy argument debate over this person for whatever it is. Like, okay, it's just this casual conversation. peaceful between two people, and then you can kind of work towards a resolution, right?
Yeah, absolutely. I think that's key.
And then, so the last one we're going to talk about today is creating an illusion of control. So don't try to force your opponent to admit you are right. Like, you think you're right. They think they're right. You don't want to try and force your opinion down their throat.
Yeah. Even if a person knows that you're right, they probably don't want to admit it.
Yeah. So what you want to do is make the other person use their mental energy and get them to think about the answer instead of leading them towards it. So kind of ask leading questions, making them kind of reconsider what their own thoughts are.
Yeah.
To kind of make them say your side without using things. Like, that's what the yes one, right?
Yeah.
Like saying, I'm better at you than this. Then they're like, no, yes. Like, yeah, chess or like whatever we'll say. Or golf is a good sport, right? Like, you're pretty good at golf, right? I'm like, yeah, I'm not bad, but might not be as, or sorry, I guess a better wording for that would be, are you good at golf? Or what's your thought on golf? Whatever.
Yeah.
They'll converse about it. And then sometimes be like, oh, I'm not bad at golf, but I don't think I'm as good as you. You get into their head to start thinking about the actual thing more, right?
This is kind of like getting the person to figure it out for themselves, eh?
Mm-hmm.
There's this old quote from, like, I think it was Lao Tzu, who was like a Chinese military leader, I believe. I could be butchering this completely right now. But he said, this is completely paraphrased. He said basically that a leader knows that he is a successful leader when the job is done and you have achieved it successfully, and the people around you believe that they are the reason that it was successful. And he said that's what leadership is. It's like, even though you might have been the person who put in the most work, it was because of you that you actually ended up succeeding. You want the people around you to feel that they are the ones who made something successful.
Yeah, that's actually super interesting with all that stuff.
I hope it was him, man.
That'd be funny. If not,
just some random guy.
Yeah.
But I think the advice is
going down that path as well. How you do that is you want to ask how or what questions that aim for them to get the response, right? Because when you ask, hey, how do you do this? Or how does this happen? They have to think and then respond, right?
Yeah.
If an argument you're saying something and then they say, and they just say no every time, right? You say something, no, that's not true.
Yeah.
No, I don't think so. They don't even have to put any mental power into it. They're just blocking out everything you're saying to hold their own opinion, right?
Yeah, and I heard say how and what and avoid why questions. Like, why is that? Because why is
guiding. It's guiding.
It's guiding, and it also creates a defensive environment, just like the yes.
Yeah.
Right?
Exactly.
Like, when you ask why, somebody's like, it's like, oh, like, why are you questioning me? Why are you questioning my logic?
Oh, you don't think what I said is correct?
Exactly, right? So it makes it like this person think that get all defensive about what they said.
Yeah, but like the how or what just basically forces them to say what they're thinking.
Yeah.
You basically can pick up everything that they're going at and then ask more leading questions that don't feel like leading questions. Right? Like how and what, they don't make you feel like you're being led down a path.
Yeah.
But why, or you just say a whole question and they have a yes response.
Or you just tell them the damn thing.
Exactly. You're not walking them down the aisle towards what
and it's less of a collaboration. I think it all comes back to that idea of it being a collaboration, right?
Yeah, I think that's true, yeah.
Yeah, that's pretty cool.
As long as, getting their guard down and letting them work towards something themselves is the big key to these, which I think a lot of these show that, right?
Yeah.
Hey, let your guard down, de-escalate the situation. Obviously, you'll still have all this in your mind that you're trying to get to this goal, but they won't realize that. So you can take advantage of that, kind of use those communication skills to go towards your goal there.
Yeah.
So I think there's a lot of interesting stuff in here that can be
absolutely
used and taken from it. And we even just barely probably skimmed the surface.
We barely skimmed the surface, yeah.
So is there a situation that you've had where you think you could use these strategies? And if so, what would you have done how would it have turned out had you done that?
It's actually a very practical example is, one time I go with a friend of mine to the mall. They need to return a pair of shoes. This pair of shoes was too tight, too small. They literally had worn it for half an hour maybe. You know, like they put it on, walked outside the house, realized it was so bad that they actually had to take it off and put the runners back on because it was way too small. It was so terrible, right?
Mm-hmm.
The annoying thing about this was when they were at the store, you know, a week previous to buy the shoe, they wore a size of the shoe. The shoe was slightly bigger. So the employee told them, hey, we'll just order you the size smaller. It'll come to your house. And the size small ended up being the one that was way too small. So they should have just gone with that larger size. Anyways, bring it to the mall. And the employee's like, sorry, our return policy says that if you wore them, no, you can't return them.
Yeah. Were they dirty? They look clean?
No, like they were perfectly new. Everything was perfectly fine.
Did they say they wore them?
Like the sole of the shoe, I think it was slightly scratched because, you know, they stepped outside with them. It was slightly scratched. And that's why the employee was like, did you wear these? And the person was just like, yeah, I did. Right? Like, they weren't going to lie or anything like that. So they just said, yeah, I did. And the employee said, oh, sorry, we can't take them back. And we just conceded. Mm-hmm. We didn't try to work around it. We didn't try to find a solution. And looking back, the way that I would have changed that situation, I would have been like, hey, Bill, whoever the worker's name is, say like, oh man, I understand that this is the policy. And you're probably like, you know, if your boss heard that you were going to return these, it would be a bad idea. I totally understand that. Like, what do you think we should do about this then? Yeah. Right? Mm-hmm. Try to get them, say, like, explain the situation. Say, you know, we had just worn these for maybe 30 minutes maximum, right? Yeah. Something like that. Really get down to it and empathize with the employee. Tell them, you know, I know you're not the one who makes the damn policy. Yeah. I know you're just here working, right? Say, like, how should we deal with this? How can we work around this?
Hey, I'm sorry we put you in this tough position where...
Exactly, you know, like, and so I feel like I wish I could go back to that moment, bro, because I feel like should I have implemented those strategies, we would have been able to exchange it or return it or do something with the shoe, but... we weren't able to.
Well, especially with those minimum wage workers. Yeah. As long as you're nice to them, they don't care. They'll cut some corners for you, right?
Right? Like, you know, I feel like that was such a missed opportunity. I wish I had known about Chris Voss beforehand. Bro.
And nothing even bad really would have came out of it had he taken the shoes in. No one probably would have noticed them.
Oh,
right? They weren't worn. So it's not like you're trying to deceive them for anything. Like we could work together with this.
Yeah. Like the shoe was literally perfectly new. It was just a matter of policy. Yeah. And, you know, truth be told... there was definitely a workaround. That was just an example of
policies are quite arbitrary when it comes to a lot of those things, especially like those big corporate ones, right? Yeah. Some people are like, we'll just kind of sneak this, move it by the side, keep a customer, right? Mm-hmm. Maybe say, hey, I'll get the size up just to switch them out for me. Like, yeah. Okay, sure, we'll do that for you.
What about you? Is there a situation where you kind of think back?
I can't pinpoint one, like drop a pin on it, but I'm definitely sure that there has been some where it's just subconsciously not realizing that it even was an argument or debate. I can never remember the word. Yeah. Negotiation. Yeah. Negotiations, right? Like I said, like they're happening all the time. Any decision between two people is negotiation. Exactly. You don't realize it.
There's like, bro, I'm literally thinking about times with teachers, bro. You need your mark rounded up. Teachers
is probably the good one with that.
Right? Yeah. Like, oh my God, need your mark rounded up. You're with your friends, you know, at the mall, some employee. I bet you could even use these strategies to get free stuff. I bet you. You know? Like, I have a friend who, for some reason, always just gets random free stuff. Go to the mall, they give him random free sample. Go to this, random. I'm like, why? Why? Like, you are doing nothing special.
Maybe we could get some free stuff for the podcast.
Yeah.
Any free LED sign, people?
Yeah. Hit us up. Like, so I feel like these strategies go into literally every aspect of your life that if you do implement them, you know, it could change a ton of stuff.
Well, I think the biggest one is like teachers, like you said.
Oh, yeah.
They're so easy. Like, you have like 9 times out of 10, the people who go into debate grades, they're fighting with the prof. Yeah. But hey, I know it's not really fair if you can do this for everyone. Just I worked really hard all semester. How or what would I do to kind of help improve my grade just that little bit?
Yeah. I think, you know, if you practice it, like practice negotiation, you definitely get better at it throughout time. But really, really good stuff.
Yeah, well, here we'll end off with this last question here. Do you think if these tactics were being used on you like properly, do you think you'd actually realize what was going on and that you're being kind of tricked and letting your guard down like this?
Well, I think the thing about these strategies is, does it feel like you're getting tricked?
No, that you
Right.
shouldn't. Like, if it's happening right, I don't think you should feel like anything's going on. Like, you shouldn't feel like you're being tricked.
But
or
I don't even think
deceived
like
or-
this is the thing. It's like that you are aware of now that you are aware of these strategies. Like, is it? I wouldn't even classify this as a form of deception.
No, yeah, it's not.
Right.
Like, if you're doing it wrong, or if you're trying to lie or do these other things.
If you're coming in it with an intention of manipulation, then these can be like tools for bad things.
Well, and you get called out for this stuff too. Like, people
Yeah.
catch on if they see like
you're a
trying to
manipulator, stuff like
you're
that.
trying to flip them on some of that stuff. They'll be like, "What is this?"
Yeah.
Prof, you could get in some trouble if you're really trying to deceive them.
Right.
But like, if you're coming in with like true intentions,
Exactly.
and you're just trying to let their guard down, it's nothing wrong with that.
At the end of the day, you are trying to create a win-win situation for both of you. That's what you're really
you're
trying to do.
personalize the other person,
Mm-hmm.
humanize, I guess. It's the right word.
Humanize, yeah.
But then, kind of make a connection with them, and they'll be willing to bargain with you.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely. Thank you guys so much for tuning in to today's podcast. If you would like to watch the full video podcast, you can catch us on YouTube. If you'd like to watch the full audio podcast, catch us on all platforms. Be sure to follow us on Instagram and TikTok for daily content where we'd love to get to know you guys more. Thank you.